He cheated on me, but my revenge exposed his biggest secret. Have you ever trusted someone so much that you believed they could never hurt you? I did. For 6 years. Daniel wasn't just my husband, he was my best friend, my biggest supporter, and the man I thought I would grow old with. At least, that's what I believed. Looking back now, I realized something important. People don't destroy relationships overnight. They do it one lie at a time. My name is Emily, and this is the story of how the man I loved betrayed me, and how one secret changed both of our lives forever. It all started on what seemed like a completely normal Thursday. Daniel kissed me goodbye before leaving for work. I'll be home late, he said with a smile. Big meeting with a new client. I smiled back. Good luck. He looked into my eyes for a second longer than usual. I love you. I love you too. The front door closed behind him. I had no idea those 3 words would become the biggest lie he had ever told me. That evening, I made his favorite dinner. Pasta with garlic bread. The candles were already on the table. The food stayed warm for almost 2 hours. Then my phone vibrated. It wasn't Daniel. It was a message from an unknown number. There was no name, no explanation, just one sentence. Your husband isn't where he says he is. My heart started beating faster. Under the message was a single photo. Daniel, sitting inside an expensive restaurant. Across from him, a woman I had never seen before. They weren't talking like coworkers. They were holding hands. I stared at the screen, hoping it was fake. Maybe someone edited the picture. Maybe it was old. Maybe. Then I noticed the watch I had bought him for his birthday just 2 weeks earlier. The photo was real. Very real. My hands began to shake. I wanted to call him. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. Instead, I did absolutely nothing. That was the smartest decision I made, because angry people ask questions, calm people find answers. Around 10:30 that night, Daniel finally walked through the front door. He looked tired, or maybe he was pretending to look tired. Sorry, he said while loosening his tie. The meeting lasted forever. I smiled. No problem. For the first time, his hug felt cold. While he was taking a shower, I quietly checked his jacket pocket. Nothing unusual, just his wallet. Car keys. A restaurant receipt. My eyes froze. The receipt was from the exact restaurant in the photo. Dinner for 2. Not a business meeting, not a client. A romantic dinner. I folded the receipt exactly the way I found it. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, wondering how long he had been lying. 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. The next morning, Daniel acted completely normal. He laughed over breakfast. He kissed my forehead before leaving. He even asked what I wanted for our anniversary next month. Listening to him lie so naturally hurt more than the photo itself. That's when I made a promise to myself. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Because if Daniel had one secret, he probably had many more. And I was going to find every single one of them. Client. I smiled back. Good luck. He looked into my eyes for a second longer than usual. I love you. I love you too. The front door closed behind him. I had no idea those 3 words would become the biggest lie he had ever told me. That evening, I made his favorite dinner. Pasta with garlic bread. The candles were already on the table. The food stayed warm for almost 2 hours. Then my phone vibrated. It wasn't Daniel. It was a message from an unknown number. There was no name. No explanation. Just one sentence. Your husband isn't where he says he is. My heart started beating faster. Under the message was a single photo. Daniel, sitting inside an expensive restaurant. Across from him, a woman I had never seen before. They weren't talking like coworkers. They were holding hands. I stared at the screen, hoping it was fake. Maybe someone edited the picture. Maybe it was old. Maybe. Then I noticed the watch I had bought him for his birthday just 2 weeks earlier. The photo was real. Very real. My hands began to shake. I wanted to call him. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. Instead, I did absolutely nothing. That was the smartest decision I made. Because angry people ask questions, calm people find answers. Around 10:30 that night, Daniel finally walked through the front door. He looked tired, or maybe he was pretending to look tired. Sorry, he said while loosening his tie. The meeting lasted forever. I smiled. No problem. He hugged me. For the first time his hug felt cold. While he was taking a shower, I quietly checked his jacket pocket. Nothing unusual, just his wallet, car keys, a restaurant receipt. My eyes froze. The receipt was from the exact restaurant in the photo. Dinner for 2. Not a business meeting, not a client. A romantic dinner. I folded the receipt exactly the way I found it. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, wondering how long he had been lying. 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. The next morning, Daniel acted completely normal. He laughed over breakfast. He kissed my forehead before leaving. He even asked what I wanted for our anniversary next month. Listening to him lie so naturally hurt more than the photo itself. That's when I made a promise to myself. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Because if Daniel had one secret, he probably had many more. And I was going to find every single one of them. The next morning, I looked at Daniel the same way I always had. I smiled. I poured him a cup of coffee. I even kissed him goodbye before he left for work. He had no idea that everything had changed. The woman who trusted him was gone. Now, I was looking for the truth. The moment his car disappeared down the street, I grabbed my notebook. I wrote one sentence across the first page. Never accuse without proof. If Daniel was lying about one thing, I needed to know how deep those lies really went. Over the next few days, I became someone I barely recognized. I paid attention to everything. Every phone call, every late meeting, every excuse, every receipt he forgot to throw away. Patterns began to appear. Every Tuesday, he worked late. Every Friday, he had dinner with clients. Every Sunday afternoon, he disappeared for almost 3 hours. None of it made sense. Until one Friday afternoon, Daniel forgot his smartwatch on the bathroom counter. His phone was locked. But the watch wasn't. A message flashed across the screen. Can't wait to see you tonight. Same place. There was no name. Only a heart emoji. My stomach turned. For a second, I wanted to throw the watch across the room. Instead, I took a picture of the message. Then I placed the watch exactly where he had left it. That evening, he walked into the kitchen smiling. I have another dinner meeting. Again? I asked softly. He laughed. You know how business works. I nodded. Of course. He leaned over and kissed my forehead. I'll make it up to you. I watched him leave. Then I picked up my car keys. For the first time in my life, I followed my own husband. I stayed several cars behind him. My hands were shaking so badly I almost missed a red light. 20 minutes later, he parked outside a beautiful restaurant by the river. It definitely wasn't a business meeting. I watched him step out of his car. A woman was already waiting for him. She ran toward him. Then, she hugged him. Not like a coworker, like someone who believed he belonged to her. I felt my heart break all over again. But something unexpected happened. They didn't go inside the restaurant. Instead, they walked into the office building next door. I frowned. What was inside that building? Curiosity was stronger than fear. I waited a few minutes before following them. The lobby was quiet. A receptionist smiled at me. Can I help you? I looked around quickly. I'm looking for Mr. Daniel Carter. She checked her computer. I'm sorry, ma'am. There isn't anyone here by that name. I froze. Daniel had entered this building only moments earlier. So why wasn't he registered? As I turned to leave, I noticed something strange. The woman from the restaurant walked out of an elevator. She wasn't alone. 2 men in expensive suits were with her. One of them handed Daniel a thick envelope. Daniel opened it. He counted the money inside. Cash. A lot of cash. Then everyone shook hands. Business? No. Something felt very wrong. I quickly hid behind a large pillar before anyone noticed me. After a few minutes, they all left through another exit. I sat in my car for nearly an hour. Questions kept racing through my mind. Who were those people? Why was Daniel receiving cash? Why had he lied about everything? That night, he came home happier than usual. He even brought me flowers. I'm sorry I've been so busy lately, he said. I forced a smile. They're beautiful. As he went upstairs, I looked at the flowers. For years they would have made me feel loved. Now, they felt like an apology for something much bigger than cheating. The next morning, I decided to search his home office while he was away. Daniel had always been protective of that room. He never locked it. But he always told me not to move anything. I opened every drawer. Nothing. Just ordinary paperwork, tax files, old notebooks, business contracts. I was about to give up when I noticed something unusual. One bookshelf looked slightly different. The bottom shelf had tiny scratch marks on the wooden floor, as if it had been moved many times. My heartbeat grew louder. I grabbed both sides of the bookshelf. It was heavier than I expected. With all my strength, I pushed. The shelf moved just enough for me to see something hidden behind it. A small gray safe. My breathing stopped. Daniel had never mentioned a safe. Why would he hide one behind a bookshelf? I knelt down. The safe needed a 6-digit code. I tried our wedding anniversary. Wrong. Birthday. Wrong. My birthday. Wrong. After 3 failed attempts, the screen flashed red. One more mistake, and it would lock for 24 hours. I slowly stepped back. This wasn't something I could guess. I needed another plan. As I stood up to leave, my eyes landed on a framed family photo sitting on his desk. Something about it looked strange. The frame wasn't straight. I picked it up. Behind the photo, a tiny folded piece of paper was taped to the back. On it were 6 handwritten numbers, 071-19. My hands started shaking. Was this the code to the safe? I looked toward the bedroom door. The house was completely silent. I walked back to the safe. My finger hovered over the keypad, one digit at a time. 7129. I pressed enter. For 3 long seconds, nothing happened. Then click. The lock opened. I slowly pulled the heavy door open. Inside were several thick folders, stacks of cash, a second cell phone, and a sealed envelope with one sentence written across the front. If anything happens to me, destroy everything inside. I stared at the envelope. At that moment, I realized the affair wasn't Daniel's biggest secret. It was only the beginning, and what I was about to discover was far more dangerous than I had ever imagined. To be continued. For nearly a full minute, I couldn't move. The safe was open. The room was silent, and my hands were shaking so badly that I almost dropped the envelope. I kept asking myself the same question. What kind of man had I really married? Taking a deep breath, I opened the sealed envelope. Inside were several documents. The first page made absolutely no sense. It listed different names, different bank accounts, large money transfers, and every payment had the same word written beside it. Consulting. But Daniel wasn't a consultant. He worked for a marketing company. So why was money flowing through accounts I had never heard of? I flipped to the next page. Then the next. The deeper I looked, the worse it became. There were fake invoices, hidden contracts, and copies of signatures that looked strangely familiar. My heart nearly stopped. One of those signatures looked exactly like mine. I held the paper closer. No, it wasn't similar. It was my signature. Or at least, a perfect copy of it. Someone had forged my name. I searched through another folder. There it was again. My signature on a loan document. Then another. Loan after loan. Huge amounts of money. Money I had never borrowed. Money I had never even known existed. I suddenly understood why Daniel had always insisted on handling all the paperwork. He wasn't protecting me. He was using me. I quickly took pictures of every single document with my phone. Every page, every signature, every account number. Then I placed everything back exactly where I had found it. The safe closed with a quiet click. No one would know I had ever opened it, or so I hoped. That evening, Daniel came home carrying groceries. He smiled the same fake smile I had seen every day. I thought we'd cook together tonight. I smiled back. I'd like that. As we chopped vegetables side by side, I looked at the man standing next to me. He laughed. He joked. He asked about my day. It was terrifying. How could someone lie so naturally? How could someone pretend to love me while secretly destroying my future? That night, after he fell asleep, I quietly slipped out of bed. I called the only person I knew I could trust. My older brother, Michael. He answered after the second ring. Emily, is everything okay? For the first time in weeks. I broke down crying. I need your help. The next morning, I met Michael at a small cafe across town. He listened without interrupting as I showed him every photo from the safe. His face grew more serious with every swipe. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. This isn't just cheating. I know. This could ruin your life. I know. He looked me straight in the eyes. You need a lawyer. That afternoon, Michael introduced me to a family attorney named Sarah. She carefully reviewed every document. Then she looked at me. Emily, these signatures appear to be forged. My throat tightened. What does that mean? It means someone may have used your identity to secure loans without your knowledge. Can I be held responsible? Sarah stayed quiet for a moment. That's exactly why we need to act before Daniel realizes you know the truth. For the next 2 weeks, everything happened in complete secrecy. Sarah contacted the banks. She froze several financial accounts. She helped me gather evidence legally. Every document was copied. Every message was saved. Every suspicious payment was recorded. Meanwhile, Daniel continued living as though nothing had changed. He still went to his mysterious Friday dinners. He still disappeared every Sunday. He still kissed me goodbye every morning. And now, I noticed something else. He was becoming nervous. Little things gave him away. He checked his phone every few minutes. He started locking his office door. Twice. I caught him looking at me as if he were trying to figure out whether I knew something. One Friday evening, everything almost fell apart. I was organizing laundry when Daniel's second phone, one I had found in the safe, suddenly rang. The phone was hidden inside his office drawer. I had secretly returned it exactly where I found it. The ringtone echoed through the room. I froze. Daniel was downstairs. If he heard it, he would know someone had been inside his office. Without thinking, I rushed into the room. I grabbed the phone just before he reached the hallway. The screen displayed only one word, Victor. I quickly pressed the side button to silence the call. At that exact moment, Daniel opened the office door. Our eyes met. For one terrifying second, neither of us spoke. "What are you doing in here?" he asked. My heart pounded so loudly I thought he could hear it. I forced a small laugh. "I was looking for the printer paper." He looked around the room. "Me. You could have asked." "I know. Sorry." For a few seconds, he simply stared at me. Then, he smiled. "It's okay." He turned and walked away. Only after he disappeared downstairs did I finally breathe again. That night, I realized something important. I wasn't the only one keeping secrets anymore. Daniel was starting to suspect me. Which meant, I couldn't wait much longer. The truth had to come out. But I wanted it to happen in a way he would never forget. I didn't want a screaming match in the kitchen. I didn't want another private argument he could twist into another lie. I wanted every person he had fooled to hear the truth at the same time. And then, an opportunity arrived on its own. The following Monday, Daniel came home looking excited. "My parents are hosting a family celebration next Saturday," he said. "My business partners will be there too." He smiled proudly. "I've got a big announcement to make." I smiled back. "So do I." He laughed, thinking I was joking, but I wasn't. As he walked upstairs, I looked at the folder hidden inside my bag. Every document was ready. Every photo was backed up. Every lie had proof. Daniel believed that next Saturday would be the biggest day of his life. He was right. He just had no idea. Why? Variant. Document. At 1947. Fen. He cheated on me, but my revenge exposed his biggest secret. Part 4 final Saturday arrived faster than I expected. For Daniel, it was supposed to be a day of celebration. For me, it was the day the truth would finally come out. That afternoon, we drove to his parents' beautiful house. The driveway was already full of expensive cars. Inside, the house buzzed with laughter. Family members hugged each other. Business partners shook hands. Everyone smiled at Daniel. Everyone admired him. To them, he was the perfect husband, the successful businessman, the son every parent dreamed of having. Only I knew the man hiding behind that perfect smile. Daniel slipped his arm around my shoulder. "You look beautiful today." I smiled politely. "Thank you." If he noticed how calm I was, he didn't show it. An hour later, everyone gathered in the large living room. Glasses were raised, music faded. Daniel stood in the center of the room with a confident smile. He tapped a spoon against his glass. "I'd like everyone's attention." The room became silent. "I have some exciting news." People clapped. His father smiled proudly. His mother wiped away happy tears before he had even spoken. Daniel cleared his throat. "As many of you know, the last year has been difficult financially." He paused dramatically. "I've carried a heavy burden." Then, he looked directly at me. "And unfortunately, my wife hasn't always made the best financial decisions." A few guests exchanged uncomfortable looks. He continued. "I've done everything possible to protect our family." There it was, the lie. Exactly as my lawyer had predicted, Daniel wasn't just trying to save himself. He was preparing to blame me for everything. He expected me to stay silent. Instead, I slowly stood up. "I think everyone deserves to hear the whole story." Daniel laughed nervously. "Emily, this isn't the time." "Oh," I replied calmly. "I think it's the perfect time." The room fell completely silent. I picked up my laptop from beside my chair. My hands were steady. For the first time in weeks, I wasn't afraid. I connected the laptop to the large television on the wall. The screen lit up. Daniel's smile disappeared. He whispered. I didn't answer. The first document appeared. A forged loan agreement, signed with my fake signature. Gasps filled the room. Daniel's father frowned. "What is this?" I clicked to the next file. Another forged document. Then another. Then copies of hidden bank transfers. Secret accounts. Cash payments. Photos of the hidden safe. Receipts from the restaurant. Screenshots of text messages. Every lie. Every excuse. Every secret. Displayed one after another. The room was so quiet. You could hear people breathing. Daniel rushed toward the television. "Turn it off." I looked directly at him. "No." He reached for the laptop. Before he could touch it, Michael stepped in front of him. "You've lied long enough." Daniel froze. He hadn't even noticed my brother standing near the back of the room. Then Sarah, my lawyer, calmly walked forward. She placed several official folders on the table. I've already submitted copies of these documents to the appropriate financial institutions, she said. And additional evidence has been preserved. Daniel's face turned completely white. He looked around the room, searching for someone, anyone, who still believed him. No one spoke. No one defended him. His business partner slowly stood up. Without saying a word, he placed his company badge on the table. Then he walked out. Another partner followed. Then another. Within minutes, half the room was empty. Daniel turned toward his parents. Dad, please. His father didn't move. Instead, he quietly asked one question. Did you forge Emily's signature? Daniel opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His silence was the answer. His mother began crying, not because of the money, not because of the business, because she had just realized she didn't truly know her own son. Daniel finally looked at me. His confident voice was gone. Emily. I'm sorry. Those two words echoed through the room. Weeks earlier I would have done anything to hear them. Now they meant absolutely nothing. I looked at him calmly. You aren't sorry you lied. You're sorry you got caught. He lowered his head. For the first time since I had met him, he had nothing left to say. A few days later, I officially filed for divorce. The legal process took months. Thanks to the evidence we had collected, my lawyer proved that I had never approved the loans or signed those documents. My name was cleared, my finances were protected, and Daniel was forced to face the consequences of his own choices. I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party. I didn't feel victorious. I simply felt free. 6 months later, life looked completely different. I moved into a small apartment with large windows overlooking a quiet park. I started my own marketing business. It wasn't easy. Some days were exhausting. Some nights were lonely. But every dollar I earned, every achievement I reached, belonged to me. One sunny afternoon, I was walking through that same park with a cup of coffee in my hand. Children laughed nearby. Birds sang in the trees. For the first time in a very long time, I felt peaceful. My phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. I opened it. Only 4 words were written. Can we talk? It was Daniel. I looked at the message for a few seconds. Then, I smiled. Not because I missed him. Not because I hated him. But because I realized something. The woman who would have answered that message no longer existed. Without typing a single word, I deleted it. I slipped my phone back into my pocket, took a deep breath, and kept walking toward the future. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't making someone suffer. It's proving that their betrayal could never stop you from becoming stronger. The end.